I think people have their priorities really wrong here. People look at this and say, okay, so the builds at the top here are the best, and the builds at the bottom here are the worst. This is a fundamental misunderstanding, not, by the way, guys, of just Guild Wars 2, but of video games. Right, okay, chat. Are you guys ready? Class is now in session. Class is in session. So, let's talk about what makes something strong, right? And what makes something overpowered, underpowered, right? And why pugs play stuff, why pugs don't play stuff, and if the reasoning behind that is accurate, if it's good reasoning, or if it's bad reasoning. Because I think a lot of people have a bit of a tough time understanding exactly why certain things are good, why certain things are bad, why things might be buffs or nerfs, or make something viable, unviable, non-playable, playable, and so on and so on. Okay, so let's get into it then, chat. So, Firebrand, guys, is probably one of the most hotly contested areas of balance in the entire game, in every game mode, except PvP because it's trash in PvP. But let's look at what Firebrand actually does. So, Firebrand right now has a full DPS build that in a raid or fractal scenario will do around 40k, around 39k sustained DPS. Now, that is actually not a problem on its own, because if we go ahead and we go to the Snowcrow's benchmarks, we can see what damage you might get. So if we go over here, and you might go, well, this is all right, because look, we can see that Weaver does around 40k, Power Chrono doesn't do that anymore because it got nerfed, but you can, there are some builds up around 40k, so surely Firebrand's all right then. Surely Firebrand is balanced, because all these builds are all doing 30k, 39k, like 40k DPS, so doesn't that mean that Firebrand should do 40k DPS as well to make it balanced? Isn't that how it should be, Teapot? What are you talking about, Teapot? It's fine that Firebrand does that much damage. Well, let's actually compare and contrast it then. Let's talk about Weaver. So if we look at Weaver and what Weaver brings to the table, we are playing full Berserk here. Or actually, I think let's play Conde Weaver, actually, because Conde Weaver is actually really strong. Like, Conde Weaver is over 40k DPS right now, I believe, with the new patch. So let's take a look at Conde Weaver. Like, what are we doing here? Let's have a look at our utility skills and our trait choices. So we have Signet of Restoration, heals us. Glyph of Mountain Power, Stun Breaks, does damage. Signet of Fire, does damage. Primordial Silence, does damage. Weave Self, does damage, right? And essentially, like, it's part of your DPS rotation. It makes you a bit more durable, it gives you a bit more mobility to switch around your achievements, and has some CC, but does damage. It's basically part of your rotation to increase your output. Let's look at our trait choices. We have Fire, Earth, and Weaver. Here, more damage, more damage, more damage on Elements of Rage. Earth, it's more damage, more damage, more damage, right? And in Fire, more damage, more damage, more damage. Everything in this build and our profession mechanic and our rotation is around doing damage. We're not bringing any real defensive support to our team. We're not bringing any kind of like healing or tankiness or like durability. There's a little bit in Earth, right? We get a bit in Earth because we have a 10% damage reduction there from GM Answers Training. So to be fair, to give credit where it's due, right? We are fully melee as well, guys. We're completely melee, right? Because we're in sword. We're with sword and well, you have a bit of range on focus, but most of your damage is from melee. And we are very, very squishy, right? We are 11k HP and light armor and melee. Okay? We also have animation locking skills. For example, Flame Uprising, right, is a really big, important part of our rotation, and this animation locks us. We leap forwards with our ability to do damage there. And as you can see, we have a pretty, like there's a lot of buttons to press here as well. Not super relevant, but it is what it is. Okay, and you can see the rotation is a little bit complicated, guys. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have on our Firebrand here. So on Firebrand, let's take a look at how our traits work. So here, we have Virtues, which means that we give boons when we go into our F3, F2, and F1. We have a lot of extra durability and condition cleanse with Purging Flames, which is actually a really nice utility. We have Renewed Focus, a baked-in invulnerability and cooldown refresh for all of our most powerful utility. We have an Aegis Heal skill, which actually affects our allies, which is absolutely busted, right? Incredibly strong for this to basically give AoE Aegis. Very high uptime of that as well. We have a Pull for some great utility. Condition Cleanse on Cleansing Flame. We have on our F3 tome, we have Stability, 300 extra toughness, which is about 10% damage reduction. Prot, stab, Aegis. Resistance, which is also really, really strong. We have a reflect. We have additional CC with our daring charge here, which gives resolution as well to us to make us more durable. And we just have spam ability of boon uptime. We can give protection here very nicely with all of these abilities here. We can actually give like massive AoE protection because we're running this trait here, Legendary Lore, for our additional damage that makes all of our tome skills better. Right, and then we can go through all these other abilities on our F2, which gives us healing, and actually a lot of healing as well, by the way. Like, we have a 33% healing mod here, and we can just, like, spam our healing out here. Condition cleanse, regeneration, AoE healing, right, all that kind of good stuff. We also have amazing cleave damage and AoE pressure, thanks to Permeating Wrath, and obviously all of our AoE that we have here on Scorched Aftermath there. Can kind of yoink that in there as well. We also gain resolution quite consistently, thanks to Radiance, because we get Light Aura. Whenever we activate a Virtue, we get resolution. All that kind of good stuff there as well. So we have a lot of value that we can bring to the table here. And for a very, very low opportunity cost, we can actually go ahead and give quickness as well. So if we just drop our Flame Mantra and our Elite skill, right, we can essentially start giving quickness here as well with like a few little adjustments. We can basically just, we can just take stuff like, we can take Liberator's Vow and then Stalwart Speed, and now we're good to go. Like, we're also now a quickness machine that can give permanent quickness to 5 players. So does it make sense that Firebrand can do all of that and do 40k DPS while the Weaver has to basically not... Oh yeah, and it's range, because we have Scepter, by the way. Okay, we actually have range with our Scepter, so we can keep DPSing pretty much the entire time, right, no matter what, in a way that a Weaver struggles to a lot more. Does that make sense that we can do all of that at the same time as also being a heavy class, having Aegis, having built-in survivability from having quickness? Forgot about that, guys. Actually, yeah, because we get more health when we have quickness, which is all the time in raids and fractals, right? Does that make sense? The answer is no, of course not, right? It makes 0 sense. Because here's the thing, guys, right? Even if Firebrand did way less DPS than Weaver, it would still be a worse choice most of the time for pugs. Because the thing is, Weaver does not make the raid any easier, the raid or the fractal any easier for your team. Firebrand does. Like, Firebrand will actually carry you and your team. Like, a good Weaver will obviously not have an issue with dealing with all the mechanics, but a bad Weaver will. And a Weaver is far more dependent on its group than a Firebrand is. A Firebrand does not care about anything else except what it is doing. It is very independent. It can even bring its own boons. It can even self-boon itself and self-vuln too, right? Because again, if we go ahead and take the Zeal trait line, we sack some DPS for this, of course, but we can actually go ahead and provide a great amount of vulnerability with Symbolic Exposure and Sword of Justice there as well, okay? And, by the way, guys, you can also use this to self-buff yourself. You can actually get 25 might on your own by using Zealous Scepter, which is actually very, very powerful for solo play, and apply Vulnerability, which, again, is very, very good for solo play. Take Zeal Griefing. You are actually not. Like, if you need Vuln, you are the opposite of Griefing. Vuln is a 25% DPS increase for your entire team. So if you have no other source of Vuln, you are not Griefing whatsoever. And this, is, you know, it's not great, and you probably aren't going to run this very often, but, you know, hey, you know, if you're desperate for Vuln, okay, Zeal, dude, boom, you're in there, okay? Bit of a niche build there, but still, it can work, right? And only that, which is why it should be even higher. Well, no, here's the thing. I actually don't, I think Weaver, so, look, let's go back to the benchmark table here, right? Let's go over to benchmark here, because let me explain my reasoning here, guys, right? Weaver being here, like Condi Weaver, where are you? Like Condi Weaver being around here, right? It's going to be a little bit higher now. I believe it's over 40k after the new patch. Is fine. I don't have a problem, guys, with Weaver doing 40k DPS. I do have a problem with Firebrand and Scourge doing that much damage. Firebrand and Scourge should absolutely not do that much damage. Okay? And the reason for that is because they just bring so much more to the table than just damage. And by the way, guys, like, even if Weaver did 50k DPS and Firebrand did only 40k DPS, for most pugs, Firebrand would still be the stronger option. And the reason for that, guys, is very, very simple. The reason for that is because it carries you and it carries your team. And Weaver requires a perfect setup to actually get that DPS off there as well. Right? Oh, yeah, we haven't even got into the fact that if you're on Firebrand, you can take, like, god tier utility, like Stand Your Ground, right? On top of what you already have. You can actually go even further and just drop the Fire Manager, because the Fire Manager isn't actually that good, and just say, fuck it, I'm going to give 10 target stability right now. Hooray! Right? right? Let's go. Right, so yeah, you can do that too. And this is the issue with Firebrand and with Scourge, right? Like if Scourge is now going to benchmark around 36k DPS. In my opinion, that is far too high. Like around 32k would be fine. Because again, Scourge, there are multiple things that go into why Scourge is like this, guys, right? Okay, well, exactly right. Yeah, we talked about the uptime as well, though, Lork. Exactly right. Why did they boost Scourge at all? Because everyone whines about Scourge, but they're just very, very bad at playing the game, right? Like, that is the cold, hard truth, guys. There is the hard pill to swallow. The people who complain about Scourge are just bad, right? Or don't know how the class works. Now, actually, I'll tell you what. I actually have a bit of footage of this. I will try and actually find some of this stuff in my VLC, guys. So this is something I did a while ago with the Rise crew, right? They're a very nice bunch of lads. Hopefully, I might try and like get them going in for this weekend actually and do some raid giveaways. But let's take a look at this Doom CM, right? So if we're on this Doom CM, guys, I'm on Scourge, and we can look at the benchmarks here, and we can kind of see how it goes. Let's go to the ending number here, right? So look at this ending number, guys. We're about let's go to 10%. Like 10% is about here. So let's just see like the actual end number here. Okay, so we get to phase. I'm just pressing my buttons, going crazy, right? Blah, 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 blah. 14%, nearly done here, right? We'll just go ahead and get to 10%. So at 10%, I'm on Scourge, and I'm doing 22.9k DPS on boss. And the Renegades here, great players, are around 25k DPS. So fortunately for us, actually, the SC benchmarks haven't been updated yet because they're hard at work at doing it right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the numbers should have been. So they are playing Invocation Kala, I believe here, is what they're playing. Okay? So the build that these revs are playing does 38,000 DPS. Okay? And the Necro build that I was playing in this video did 29,000 DPS. Okay? So, what is going on there, guys? Right? Oh, they're playing RR. Yeah, of course, they're playing RR. But again, like, it's still going to be a lot of damage, right? It's still going to be significantly higher than the Necromancer build, right? It'll be like 35k, 34k DPS or some shit like that. I don't fucking know, right? Oh, no, we have a Chrono, actually. No, they aren't playing RR because we have a Chrono. Okay. But anyway. Okay, so, yeah. So they're playing this build here. They're doing 38,000 DPS, right? Okay, so how is it possible, guys? How is it possible that my benchmark should be 29,000 DPS and these Renegades have only 2k more DPS with a benchmark, guys, right? That is basically 10,000 DPS higher. So what's going on there? So what's happening here is the fact that some builds react to mechanics differently, right? Yeah, it depends if you get mechanics on Doom, but I think we all got a vaguely even same amount of mechanics. We basically got even amount of mechanics. But the thing is, guys, is that there are certain builds that care about mechanics less. For example, Weaver rarely cares about mechanics. And Weaver, if it has to do a bomb, it's sad as fuck. Like, Weaver having to go out and do bomb is like the saddest thing ever. But like a Renegade or a Necromancer, honestly, not that bad because you can still attack from range, right? You can move out and keep attacking pretty much the entire time with your shade attacks, with short bow, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot going in this. And the thing about Necro is the absolute king of this. Like, if you watch through this video, you'll see me basically attacking the entire time, right? I will basically never stop attacking the boss ever. Obviously, Epi gives me a bit of an edge here, maybe like an extra 1k DPS. But again, like, that's just, you know, I'm using my class to do better somewhere, right? Because of something my class can do, right? And Epi isn't going to be that amazing because we're not bouncing, right? Obviously. I'm just bouncing here. But what you'll see, guys, is that I'm going to be attacking the entire time, right? And nothing will be able to stop me here. That will not happen unless you're in a very optimized group for something like a Weaver or a Dragon Hunter or something like that. And the same is true on Firebrand. When I'm playing on my Firebrand, I'll be attacking the entire time. When I'm playing on my Hollowsmith, I'll be attacking the entire time. Because these builds have this very powerful capacity to always attack and have very high DPS uptime. Okay, and these benchmarks do not reflect that. Now, to be very, very clear here, guys, this is important stuff here. These benchmarks are good and very helpful, and these are a great resource provided by SC to the community. But you need to understand what they mean. DPS builds don't normally sub attacking, but they do, right? Here's the thing. They do. If you're a Weaver here, if you're a Weaver, Scrombo Plus, how are you attacking? Like, if you're a Condi Weaver, how do you attack? Where are you attacking here? If you're on Condi Weaver, like in this phase right now. Like, what are you doing here? Are you going to go in there and, like, melee it with that AoE there, with the Ender's Echo, with the Doomfire? You have fun with that, buddy, right? You enjoy that. You're not doing that with that build. You just aren't. It's not going to happen. So, anyway. This is why I don't get trolled by chat. I must not get trolled by chat. Okay? But anyway, right? You know, as we continue here, you'll see that I'm basically attacking the entire time. I was attacking during the split phase. The Echo comes in. Again, if I'm on a melee class, it's going to be much more awkward for me to keep attacking, right? But I'm right. I don't give a fuck, right? I'm just going to move out, right? And move away and keep attacking. Dude, oh, no! Okay, no, I didn't put Plague Guns here. Okay, put Plague Guns here. Yeah, okay, good past Teapot. Good job, past Teapot. But anyway, okay, so what makes up for this discrepancy, guys? Right? Why don't you check the benchmark on different ones? Is it gone? There's an option on top of the page. Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Culty94, okay? No one fucking looks at that shit, okay? No one fucking looks at it. And they also don't show everything, right? They only show, like, the good classes on these, right? But, yeah, no one fucking looks at that. People only see this, right? And they don't really interpret it very well whatsoever, right? That's why. Okay, and also, like, they're looking at this for specific comps, and this is typically with good players, right? Good players, everything going well in a fairly optimized situation, right? Like, a fairly optimized scenario is what you're kind of experiencing here there as well, right? Now, yes, as the chat is correctly pointing out, the Golem is the only controlled environment, but that doesn't mean the Golem is useless. It doesn't mean the Golem is useful either. That's kind of irrelevant. A controlled environment is great because it allows you to demonstrate how to play something correctly, but what it doesn't tell you is how to actually interpret that information and apply it to an actual raid boss. And it also doesn't tell you about utility as well. You might look and say, wow, Condi Weaver does 42k DPS. Why would I ever play a Firebrand if it only did 35k DPS? And that's a fair question. But the answer to that is basically an amalgamation of what I just said. The reason you would play Firebrand, and honestly why most players will have more success on a Firebrand compared to a Condi Weaver, is because 1, better DPS uptime. 2, far better utility. 3, far less punishing, thanks to no animation locks there as well. Okay, and all of those things make Firebrand good. And now Firebrand has a lot of damage there as well. Okay, to bring to the table. You know, it's kind of like asking, like, why would you ever play a Druid? Druid doesn't do any damage. Well, it's because Druid has other things, right? Druid does other stuff. It can give damage increase with spirits. It can heal. It can give boons, right? So even though, you know, damage is not the only important thing when you're like evaluating a build, damage is not even the most important thing. I think people have their priorities really wrong here. People look at this and say, okay, so the builds at the top here are the best and the builds at the bottom here are the worst. This is a fundamental misunderstanding, not, by the way, guys, of just Guild Wars 2, but of video games. Okay? I want to make this clear. If you guys, like, if you guys were, like, in a hardcore WoW guild or a Final Fantasy guild, right? And you were like, oh, dude, like, no one plays Necro in Guild Wars 2 because, it has this ridiculously overpowered, like, shielding effect. But, dude, no one plays that shit. Dude, oh my god, no, I got fucking picked. Dude, what a fucking meme here. Oh, I played so bad at that, dude. I like it. Any pickies in the chat, guys? Any pickles, guys? Any pickmen? Okay, any pickos? Very nice. But anyway, even got picked, still doing good DPS. But anyway, right, yeah, too much greed, man. Too much greed, okay? The greed, I gotta take those Rens out, man. Anyway, so that's not even the most important thing here. Like, utility is so strong. Like, utility and group utility, particularly in Guild Wars 2, but in other MMOs as well, and other games like this, is far better than just raw damage. And think about this in PvP as well, guys. Like, why is Scourge so overpowered in PvP? Well, the reason isn't because it does loads of damage, because it doesn't do loads of damage. It does good damage, it doesn't do loads. The reason it's so strong is because it does damage and supports at the same time. That's why it's so good, right? And it's the exact same thing in PvE. The reason why Scourge is so strong is because it makes the fight far easier, does good damage, and also is very good at getting that damage off at the same time. Like, and in general, if you are a sensible pug, if you have a choice between build that does 5k DPS more, or build that carries your group way fucking harder, right, and is way less likely to die and feed, the choice is always to go for the build that carries harder, right? And This is actually a really big problem. Like, even though stuff like Renegade is going crazy right now, doing like 40k DPS, are you going to see loads of Renegades in Fractal Pugs? No, probably not, right? You'll see a lot of Firebrands still. Okay, why is that? Well, it's because Firebrand, even though it will do lower damage, right, and it's, it's burst damage, which, did get nerfed for Fractals, right? Why will you still see Firebrand? This is kind of going into the pug meta discussion here as well. The reason for that is because Firebrand obliterates the integrity of encounter design in Fractals, right? When it comes down to stuff like, when it comes down to attacks in Fractals, a lot of them are blockable. Stability is amazing in Fractals. Reflects are amazing in Fractals. Burst healing is very good in Fractals, right? And Firebrand has all of those things. Renegade can still be pretty good, don't get me wrong, and it will be a great option for doing maybe more speedrunny stuff, right? Because of how insanely powerful Torment that Torment bursting is going to be with the new exposed change there as well. But it does not mean that just because it has more damage, it will not overtake the meta, right? If anything, what you're going to see happen is you're going to see a huge amount of Scourges start invading Fractals now, I think, because of how cheesy it really is, right? You know what's amazing in Fractals? Damage? Correct. Damage is very good in Fractals, but the thing is that it's not that amazing in Fractals. Do you know why it's not that amazing in Fractals, guys? Because what did people ask for? Let's go and take a look at the Fractal LFG right now. If people were only looking for damage in Fractals, then why the actual fuck are they asking for Heal Firebrand? Why are they asking for Heal Firebrand, guys? Right? Because, yeah, you can do Fractals very easily without a healer, particularly if you're stacking Firebrands, actually. But why would you ever want to heal Firebrand if you want to go for as much damage as possible? That build does no damage, right? It does a very, very low amount of damage. Okay, well, and it's quite simple. The reason is because Heal Firebrand makes it far safer, right? It heals you, it boons you, it can bring CC and retreat and utility and more ages, more stability, more that kind of stuff. That's the reason. It's safe, right? And the pug meta is always going to be most reward, least effort. And it's going to be like the beautiful union of those two ideas. That's how people play pug raids. And this also segues into misunderstandings about the meta. Because here's the thing. The pug meta is wrong. What people have done is they've essentially extrapolated out the fractal meta and taken it into the raid meta. And they've misidentified what's good about these builds. Okay, that's what people have actually done here. Because here's the thing, guys. People look at Heal Firebrand and they go, what's OP about that? Oh, it heals and gives quickness, right? That's what's OP about it. Wrong. What's OP about it is actually Aegis, stability, and just massive group utility, which is actually found on regular Firebrand. And so when people take something like that and they extrapolate it into raids, you actually end up with a suboptimal safe composition. For example, you'd be, if you want to heal Firebrand in raids, you'd be far better off just playing a Condi Quickness Firebrand and then playing a hard healer. That is a much safer comp. For example, if you have Heal Ellie and Condi Quickness Firebrand, that is a much safer way of getting quickness and healing than playing a Heal Firebrand, right? Because the Heal Ellie is a simply far superior healer and far superior booner as well, thanks to its massive healing output, 10 target utility, and just wider range of boons that it can consistently supply, and you lose nothing, because the Condi Quickness Firebrand still brings all of the really strong effectiveness that you get from Firebrand, but just doesn't heal and does damage instead. Now, you do lose roll compression there a little bit, and that is actually a justification of why you might want to take a Heal Firebrand, but it isn't the most safe thing in the universe there, because you're still compressing rolls with the Condi Quickness Firebrand, right? You're just compressing damage and boons as opposed to healing and boons. So you still have roll compression with the Condi Quickness Firebrand, but that is the logic, but the logic is wrong. And this is a mistake that so many players make in raids and just everywhere in the game. They mistake why something is good, right? Because the reason Firebrand is good is not the healing. It's actually not a very good healer. It's one of the kind of weaker healers, I want to say, for raid content. For Fractals, it is actually very good, and I would definitely say it's amazing. But in raids, Heal Firebrand is actually one of the weaker healers. You're much better off with something like a Scourge or an Ellie, right? And in fact, seriously, like, if you want to go with the ultimate safe comp, is probably Heal Ellie and Heal Scourge, because that's like the best of both worlds. You have like very, very good defensive and offensive booning from the Ellie, and you have the carry and shielding from the Scourge. Combine those two together, and you have the ultimate comp there as well. Now, this kind of segues into Druid. Like, why is Druid so good? Right? Like, why is Druid so prevalent? And ultimately, the thing about Druid is actually the fact that it can do things that nothing else can. And this is why Druid is good. Okay, Druid is very good because of Longbow and Glyph of Tides and Entangle, right? And I'm actually 100% serious there. It's not even Spirits, actually. It's not Spirits. That's not why Druid is good. That's a really big misunderstanding here, guys. Because seriously, let me tell you this, guys. If you are wiping because you don't have a 5% damage mod, you've got bigger issues, believe me, right? Okay, you are not wiping to a raid because you don't have Frost Spirit, right? Okay, Frost Spirit is great for optimizing and pushing stuff, pushing forwards times. The reason why Druid is so good is because it has amazing roll compression and its ability to handle raid mechanics. In particular with Entangle and Longbow and Tides. Like, if you're on Soulless Horror and you don't have a Druid, that is actually very awkward. Like, what are you going to do there, right? Like, what do you do in that situation? Well, you're going to have like an Ellie do it with Gust or with like Lightning Hammer, maybe Wild Blow on Warrior. And yeah, you can do this. Right? You can do this, but Druid is so good at it, right? Like with like the Longbow 4, with Glyph of the Tides, it's actually amazing, right? By the way, guys, if you take Might from another source, your Druid can even take Ancient Seeds, which is actually even like, that's pretty juicy there as well, right? Yeah, you could do like Guardian with Hammer, right, if you want to, but all of that is so much more awkward than saying, oh, we're running a Druid anyway, the Druid takes Longbow, takes Marks, Glyph of the Tides, bish bash bosh, here we go, right? That is way more complicated, and that is why Druid is good. Druid is good on every single boss. Like, on something like Heal Ellie is amazing, but it can't ever be the only thing, right? It can be on a lot, so you can actually solo heal a lot of bosses there with Heal Ellie, but on something like SH, if you don't have a Druid, it's kind of annoying, right? Like, to play without a Druid. It's just a bit awkward. People are going to have to, like, do mechanics, and people don't like that. And this actually, fundamentally is an issue with Guild Wars 2 raid design, actually. The way Guild Wars 2 raid design typically works is that very few people actually handle mechanics. Okay? That's how it is, guys. Is Rise out of comp? No, I won't be, because in tryhard groups, it's way less relevant. I'm talking about pugs here, Shiny Nimon, right? I'm talking about pugs. And raid design in Guild Wars 2 means that, like, 1 or 2 people do all the mechanics in the raid, basically. Right? And this is great if you're a monkey DPS player and you want to ooga booga, but the problem with this is that raids typically have a meta because this class can do that mechanic on this fight, right? And that means that the idea of everyone doing mechanics and say, oh, take Wild Blow to knock back the Soulless Horror things, or like, oh, like you kite on Doom on a Heal Ellie or something like that, right? Or a Comni Necro picks up a messenger and kites it around. Like, that doesn't ever happen because of the way raid design is, right? Like, it's always going to be Druid and Chrono, like, do all the mechanics, and the DPS is tunnel vision the boss, right? I think there should be a lot of mechanics that force everyone to engage with them, right? You know, maybe, you know, instead of, like, the messenger, like, the Desmina golems, like, spawning, they, like, tunnel vision someone, that person has to lead them away or something like that, so you have, like, more than one person doing this, right? You can't CC them, you have to, like, lead them away, like, across the arena, something like that. That would be maybe a better way to do it, so you can have a different, so everyone has to handle that mechanic. But yeah, having a lot of this stuff dealt with by one profession is a really big problem, particularly if there's no efficient way for someone else to do it there as well. Basically, it turns out that having knockbacks and immobilize is very, very good. Like, now, Heal Ellie can actually provide great immobilize on Earth Overload, and obviously Dagger can be very good, particularly for something like Demos, but you aren't going to get the same level of value something like Entangle, because Entangle is just such a powerful effect there as well, right? It's very, very, very good. Yeah, Adina and Kadim too, they are definitely improving this actually, but there's a few issues there. But this is what actually leads to problems within the Guild Wars 2 pug meta. And also, people don't seem to realize that their priorities are very, very wrong. I actually really want to hammer home on the spirit thing as well, because everyone's like, dude, why would I ever play Tempest when I could play Druid? Because Druid's got Sun Spirit and Frost Spirit. Well, one, Spirit is not Druid. Like, you could just have a Soul Beast do that. But that's not even... No, actually, that's number 2. Like, 2, you can have a Ranger do it. 1, right? The reason is because Druid is not actually a very good healer. You know, like, Druid is okay, but its actual boon output and healing output compared to a heal early is pathetic. Like, a heal early probably heals double and far more consistently and far more often than a druid, particularly if you're playing staff early as well. Like, or any other healer, really. Like, if you're playing heal rev, it's going to heal way more than druid, right? And boon better than a druid. Tempest is going to boon better than a druid, heal better than a druid, right? Like, it's not a particularly amazing healer. And it's like, oh, but I don't need the healing. Like, if you're pugging, you do, trust me, right? Like, the amount of pugs who just, like, destabilize and die, it's already over. And the other thing about DPS, guys, is that you have to actually, again, encounter downtime. DPS uptime, DPS downtime. So your average player, guys, does, let's say, 20,000, 25,000 DPS. That means if you go downstate for 5 seconds, you've lost over 100k damage. That's gone. And if you're on Druid and someone goes downstate and a heal Ellie would have kept that player alive, your Frost Spirit, it's over, right? It's fucking done. Like, that advantage that you got from Frost Spirit doesn't exist. It is fairy dust, right? If you go downstate, if one player goes downstate for for 10 seconds, or someone dies, right? Your Frost Spirit does not exist. It is like, it's deleted, right? If Rebound saves even one person, right? If a Heal Necro reses even one person, your Frost Spirit is worthless, right? It is vanished into nothing. Right, okay? It is gone. Right? It is already gone. Druid Spirits are like 10k DPS plus. Yeah, they are, but you don't need a lot of downsets, honestly, to make it not worth it. Right? You lose so much damage. Because bear in mind, when someone goes downstate, everyone else has got to start reviving, right? You've got to revive that. If someone dies, that person's gone. You've lost your 20k DPS. If a support dies, then you lose all of your quickness, right? For one group or something like that. If even one player dies, okay, if even one player dies, right, in your raid, you'd been better off with just hard carrying and going with like an ultra cheese comp, right? Even if you're playing something really aggressive, right? Like, even if you're playing like a really cheesy comp, like a bunch of Scourges, right? If you survive by stacking loads of Scourges with everyone alive, and like a more aggressive comp loses 1 or 2 players, you will end up faster with the Scourge comp. And by the way, in a pug, people aren't pushing optimal DPS numbers, right? Okay, if you're in a pug group, you aren't getting 40k DPS on Power Chrono. You aren't getting 40k DPS on Condi Weaver. You won't get that because those benchmarks assume a perfect situation with the boss never ever moving and everything going perfectly. And that's great for learning how to play the build and learning what order to press your buttons in. But the trouble is that that's not how real raids work. In real raids, guys, you're going to have 3 people who know how the fight works and 7 people who faked KP, right? And in that situation, it's going to be an absolute clown fiesta, right? It's going to be an utter clown fiesta, okay, about the place there as well, guys, okay? There you go. Why is it, guys, that you'll always see stuff like Druid and like these very high DPS builds in try-hard comps? Well, it's quite simple because, one, they don't do it first try, so all these little like wipes and instabilities and downsites and like DPS losses don't happen in their final run. But 2, they are all really good at the game, and they have a strategy that actually enables their builds to do benchmark damage. Usually, extreme burst damage to skip every mechanic and guarantee that you can always be in, like, the burst phase of your rotation the entire time. You do not have that, guys. Like, the way power builds work is that you have up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. And the issue with this is that power builds are very overpowered and unbelievably strong if you can guarantee that you are always in the up phase. And this is what you see in speedruns. In speedruns, they'll phase the boss so quickly that the power, you do one burst opener, right? The boss phases. Then you do another burst opener, the boss phases. Then another burst opener, right? The entire time, right? And that is why you see these ridiculously high numbers in speedruns, because they all play the same build really fucking well with a very aggressive strategy, so the boss becomes the golem. And when you have 10 people doing that all at the same time, the number actually inflates rather than deflates. In a pug group, the number will always deflate, right? Except, funnily enough, guys, for builds like Scourge, right? Because in Scourge, the longer the fight goes on, the happier a Scourge is. Right? So in a pug group on Scourge, you'll actually get about the same number, but on basically every other build, you'll get a lower number. But in a try-hard Sweatman group, Sweatlord group, you'll get higher numbers because of the way Burst works. So Pug groups, the benchmarks will be lower. Try-hard groups, the numbers will be higher because of coordination and execution, right? And for Condi builds, particularly stuff like Scourge, Firebrand, and Renegade, like in a pug group, because you have enough time to ramp up, and because those builds are independent, and because those builds all have ranged, right, you will actually get very good numbers. And the same thing is true of Hollowsmith as well. Like, Hollow is another great option. It's kind of like a build that people really sleep on, in my opinion, in raids. Hollow is amazing. It's very durable with great heal skill, healing turret, or AED. It has loads of cleave, loads of CC, range damage there with nades as well, right? Heat therapy for healing there as well. It's like very, very tanky build, right? Like very, very durable, powerful thing to have. And it has great utility with like blinds, right? Immobilize, like cleave, right? All that kind of good stuff. It's got loads of good stuff that it can bring. Buff now as well, because you can use rifle for the CC. Very good stuff. Very, very nice indeed, guys. So these builds are actually the good pug builds. The actual good pug builds are Hollow. They are Firebrand. They are Scourge, right? Like that kind of thing is what will actually cheese you. Heal Ellie. Heal Necro, right? Those are the things that carry you in raids. And that is what people should probably be playing most of the time, and they will get better DPS results. And that is essentially the underlying lesson here, guys. Because playing a build that has a higher DPS benchmark will not necessarily make your run faster or better. A lot of the time, when you're playing in a non-coordinated fashion and you just want to get the job done, playing builds that are loaded up with defensive utility and group support, basically more hybridized builds, are going to make the encounter easier, smoother, probably faster in a lot of situations, by the way, okay? And even if it's slower, it will be like 5 seconds slower. And if you wipe even once playing a more aggressive comp, you've lost completely and you'll never catch up with the hybrids ever again. There you go, right? That is how it is. I think I have broadly explained what I wanted to explain. Does that make sense, guys? Does all of that, did what I just explained, did that make sense? And did I miss anything? Because I want you guys to be my Guild Wars 2 wrinkly brain gods, right? Going forth into the pug meta, into raids, into fractals, into that, all that stuff there as well, guys. Because this is something that has really bothered me, actually, with people looking at the balance patch and, like, freak out. Oh, my class sucks. Oh, no. Oh, power is OP. Condi is OP. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Right, but it's the only reason they even say that is because they have fundamental misconceptions about how people play the game.